Hello, hello, nerds. Welcome back to the New Block Nerds podcast. I'm your host, Chris, aka Prince, with my brother Cardell here. Cardell, how you doing, bro?
Doing good, man. How about you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It feels good to be back. I know I've been listeners. I know I've been gone for a while, and I have a damn good reason for it. I promise. My wife and I we just welcomed our second child just a couple of months ago. So you know, we have an older child that's also just turned 2 around the same time. So personal life has been pretty fucking busy. I don't know if any of you guys have kids, but they take up just about all of your fucking time. So doing the best I can over here. So, but me and my wife we're starting to get a little bit of a routine with the little one. So hoping that we can do this a little bit more regularly. But with that out of the way, don't forget to subscribe so you definitely don't miss anything when we do drop something. But it's I'm happy to be back, man. It's I've been itching to get back on the pod. There's been a lot of stuff that has like dropped recently, um, and I'm not as on top of things as I would like to be with 2 kids, but we're getting there, man. We're getting there. We're getting there.
You'll get there. It's time.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. So we are here, guys, to talk about The Boys. So, The Boys season 4. So, we're about halfway through the season now. So, I just want to put that out there right now. Disclaimer warning, spoilers. If you guys have not watched The Boys, I would highly recommend you stop this
Go watch it.
video, go catch up, watch it, because it's easily the wildest fucking show that maybe I've ever seen. Like, and Cardo, I don't know how you feel about this, but like I was texting somebody earlier today and I'm just like, dude, there's literally no line that they won't cross. Every time I think like wow, this is bizarre. This is over the line. Not even over the line, but this is raw. I'm just like, nope, they have more. They have more.
Yeah. So, funny enough, um, I got Shay to start watching it. So we're doing a rewatch as well. And as we're going through like the first episode when A Train just runs through Robin, it's like, and she goes, "What the fuck?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you're gonna say that out loud at some point in every episode this season. So
Yep.
just get prepared."
Yep.
Um, so she had no background going in knowing what to expect with the show. Um, but just even starting the rewatch with her back in season one, I still wouldn't have expected to be like as wild as it is currently in season four.
Yeah, there's like no matter how much you watch this show, like you said, even if you rewatch it, there is, even though we've been through 3 full seasons of this show, there's still nothing that can prepare you for the fuckery that they give you in each and every episode. And like, we seriously have to talk about Anthony Starr, the guy who plays Homelander, about
Yeah,
just how brilliant he is with like face acting, because this dude gives me like he gives me friggin' hives, bro. Like whenever he's on screen, I'm so like tense. Like I'm just waiting for everything to just go to shit. Every
yeah.
single time I see him, I'm just like, oh my god, what's gonna happen?
We might need to start having one of those conversations about where Homelander, where his portrayal as Homelander ranks up there with uh, like supervillains.
Yeah.
Um, because as you said, he really portrays him like as a sicko. Like Homelander is everyone's worst nightmare. Like, what if Joffrey goes unchecked, doesn't get poisoned, and goes all the way to makes it to 35 and rules the whole like that's the kind of vibe I get from Homelander. Just like the worst you could possibly imagine.
Worse than that.
Yeah, and then just shoot it up with steroids.
Yeah, he's so awful. Like I just and like this is an interesting point that he's at right now, like in season 4, because I feel like because he has Ryan close to him now, right? There's a part of him that is trying to hold on to like some of his humanity, whatever is left of it, anyways, because of Ryan. But there's also, we had that scene where he had like the seven different personalities, whatever, basically telling him, essentially, in not so many words, you're more God than human. You need to detach yourself from humanity to do the things you really want to do, to become the thing that you really want to become. And that's horrifying. I mean, of
Yeah,
all the awful things that he's done thus far, mentally, he's still holding back. Like there are still maybe a handful of fucks left for Homelander to give.
and I think it's part of that's because he already have like a God complex, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've known that for a while, and part of that is he wants to be liked, right? He wants to be worshipped. You know what I mean? And I think he's now starting to realize that he can lean into being. He doesn't have to be the peaceful guy. He can be the vengeful one.
Yeah, and that's and again, that is to your point earlier, like that is another level of like worst nightmare ever than I think we've possibly ever seen. Because I mean, this guy is as close to, I mean, injustice aside, is the closest thing we're gonna get to evil Superman that you could ever imagine, right? Because like you bring up that whole like he wants to be liked, he wants to be worshipped, but he doesn't have to be a good guy. He can be vengeful. He can be feared, right? It's kind of
He
like the
could be
same thing. It's the same thing where like not to bring up old wounds, but like season 8 of Game of Thrones where Daenerys was like, all right, well if it's not love, it's gonna be fear then. We saw how that shit turned it out. You know what I mean? But like this dude's indestructible, seemingly. Like there's there's no there's no rebellion here if he decides to just, you know what, F it. I'm just gonna I'm just gonna do the thing. I'm
I
gonna
mean,
do the impossible thing.
his supporters are already still supporting him when they saw that he melts him and right down the hill of the streets.
Yeah. Yeah, and and I know like the boys, like this show has been made famous for its like really over the top satire of like real life stuff, and I find it hilarious. Now don't get triggered, folks. I find it hilarious, like whatever your politics are. If you're a listener, I don't really give a shit, but I find it hilarious that like there's been like some hoopla on the internet that some folks on the right are just now getting are just now it's just now clicking for them
But yeah,
that like this show is kind of mocking them. And to be fair, the show mocks everyone, right? Like this is like a Family Guy situation where like no one's exempt. Everyone everyone can get it. Everyone can be made fun of, right? I just find it hilarious that like like we're in season 4 and people are like, "Wait a minute, are they talking about me?" And it's just like, "Where where have you been?"
we're, but you, it bothers me a little bit because it's like, all right, what will you? Did we watch the same first 3 seasons?
Right. Right.
Like like all this stuff not even subtle. It's like, oh, look at this idiot. So it's
Right.
not like pay attention.
Right.
Like I
Right.
said, um, there's a couple other couple of things particularly about this season I want to talk about. I want to talk about Sage.
Mm-hmm.
Her character is really interesting to me, particularly with the whole lobotomy thing she's doing.
Oh my God. I've never I'm not even gonna say never because there's been plenty of times I've like like squirmed out like watching this show, but that one, oh, just when I think they can't do anything more fucked up, man, they take it to a whole nother level.
And it's wild. And it's like it's like that concept was really interesting to me. The fact that she's so smart like being that smart and being around everyone else who is like substantially dumber than you, right? It has to be frustrating for her. She can't even have fun.
Hmm.
She kind of literally dumb it down. Uh,
Yeah,
Relax and kind of unwind.
and that's such an interesting thing that like I feel like again, the boys does such a good job at like taking elements from comic books that like we love, like mainstream comics, and really looking at it in a very realistic way. Like think about how many quote unquote genius level intellect people are in the comics. Like imagine what it would be like for them to interact with fucking dummies like Deep all day, every day, nonstop. That's something that I feel like we've never really, at least to my knowledge, we've never really explored like
Or,
that, right?
or new black bar.
New Black New Black Noir is hilarious, but like when you mentioned about Sage, like how she literally has to like dumb it down, and she's like how it has to be super frustrating. It reminds me of like Goodwill Hunting when he's at the university and he's like he's like, do you know how fucking easy this is? This is the joke, and I'm sorry that you don't get it. But I'm tired of sitting here watch you bumble around and fuck it up.
Yeah, that's got to be how she feels like all day.
Yeah, and you know, speaking of Sage, I and me and my wife watched the show, and we're both like, she's up to something. She's way too intelligent to just be like, yeah, I'll help you basically take over the world. Like, there is an angle that she's playing, and I really wonder what it is. Now, I'm going to make a
Yeah.
theory, right? I think, and mind you guys, this is before episode 5. This is, I think, episode 5 comes out tomorrow, or as of the recording of this pod. I think that she's kind of just trying to bring everything crumbling down, just in mass. I think she's just pitting both sides against each other, and she's just like, just let's. I'm just gonna watch these dummies kill each other because
Uh,
fuck it, why not?
to, to what end?
That I don't know. That I'm not sure of. I can't figure that out. But like, there's no way that she is loyal to like
I definitely,
Homelander's cause or like the Seven's cause, just like in a vacuum. I think she has some other angle here.
yeah, I definitely think she has some sort of ulterior motive. There's something else that she's kind of like bigger picture looking at. Yeah, I definitely don't know what I don't know what that is at this point.
And I'm very excited to see like how this plays out. Like, what is her end game? Because again, smartest person in the world, right? She's clearly thinking a million steps ahead of everyone else. What is she like? What is her end goal? And I can't imagine that she doesn't have one.
Yeah, I don't know. We have to keep watching,
Yeah,
perhaps.
so I'm very excited to see that, but I also think too the whole lobotomy thing, like you said, she literally has to like dumb herself down. I think that could backfire on her
Yeah,
at some point this season.
especially if it's the deep that's going to be doing it.
Yeah. Because number one, he could fuck it up, but like number two, like if she's in a state of, just dumbness, for lack of a better term, like, but then they need her intelligence to solve an
And then
issue.
she, yeah,
Like I feel like that's gonna come back to bite her.
that might.
I I do feel like that's gonna come back to bite because like why also like why else would they show us that like they've showed us in these first 4 episodes this person who is super smart and is outmaneuvering everyone and everything at every turn, and then they show, oh, by the way, she can dumb herself down whenever she wants to. You don't. It's like it's kind of like people talk about like the wall in Game of Thrones. You don't make a big giant ice wall and say that it's impervious without eventually tearing it down. That's that's just what you do with it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I'm interested to see where her storyline is going to go. But you brought up Black Noir earlier, and I find it
Yeah.
so I find it so hilarious that like they have this guy and he's like the complete opposite of Black Noir. Like Black Noir never spoke and all this
Yeah.
other kind of stuff, and this guy is just like a bumbling fucking idiot. I mean, he's like if Donkey from Shrek was in the Seven, he just won't shut the fuck up.
What was also in like what was also in like so I don't know what my role is. Like I don't understand. Shut up. And they're just like, shut up. Bro.
They're
That's
like,
their
that's
role.
that's
Stop
that's
talking.
really your thing. That's literally your only thing. You don't talk. Why are you still speaking? Shut up. It's so hilarious. I wonder who that person is though. Also, like, who do they get? Like, who was under that mask? Like, we got the backstory of Black Noir in season three, I believe it was, but like, they just seemingly just are pretending like Black Noir never died, at least to the general public. The only
Yeah.
people who know that he's dead are people in the Seven.
What else has he got so far? Oh, firecracker by that beat guy, didn't you?
It's again that's like I I knew Starlight was gonna go off on her. I knew she was, but I was just like, oh my god, you're doing exactly what they want you to do.
Yeah.
Now, oh, god damn it, Starlight, just you could wait till the cameras go off. Like you could pull up on her at any time, yo, without cameras. But what are you gonna do? I think it's just we are
She embarrassed Starlight in public. So Starlight
so
embarrassed her in public.
yeah. Sometimes you gotta return the favor. You know what I mean?
Hey, man.
You know one thing, actually, one thing I want to bring up. That's a huge thing. Butcher. What the fuck is going on with Butcher? Because we know in season three, he took the compound V. We know the doctor said, look, you don't have much time to live. But when he was getting choked out in that trailer and he blacked out,
Yeah.
Butcher's still got like a secret power or something. Like
What
that's
was that crawling under his skin?
you know what I think it's got to be something like that whatever that thing is inside of him. I think when he blacks out, that thing like comes out and like attacks and then goes back inside Butcher.
You got like a symbiote or something?
I don't know. I don't know what the fuck it is, but it's something.
It's
It's
lethal.
something.
Because he
And
came through with nothing but
it's
blood everywhere.
it's lethal. Yes. Yes. And it's funny because I do think I wonder if Butcher knows deep down that something like that is going on, and he's just not telling anyone. Because remember when he confronted Huey about taking the compound V so Huey could give it to his dad,
Yeah.
and you know he basically confronts Huey about it. He's like, "Look, you don't think I took extra? All it did was speed up my expiration date, essentially, and not so many words."
Yeah.
But we know Butcher. Butcher's a fucking liar. So like he could be lying. Maybe Butcher knows. Maybe he doesn't. I guess we'll have to just wait and see and find out. But like,
I think Victor knows he's dying. That's why he keeps hallucinating and seeing his wife in the middle of conversation with other people.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I feel like that's like a trope in like all of like cinema.
Yeah.
Once you start
Once I
like
see you start talking
hallucinating
to
your
your
like
dead
dead wife,
spouse and your dead
it's a dub.
kids and your
It's a
dead
dub.
mom and shit like that, and other people are in the room and you just talking to them. Yeah, bro, it's just right.
It's a wrap. Yeah,
Yeah, he
you're
got
dead.
like how many episodes we got left in the season?
We got four more, I think.
And then Butcher got about 4 episodes left.
But like to your point though, like we're in season four. Season five is going to be the last season they've announced, right? So, and it does feel like we're drawing close to the end game here. Like I do feel like there's a powder keg. Clearly, like it's building up to like this big clash in the country, um, and I feel like I I'm still scratching my head on how they're going to get rid of Homelander because there's only one way this show ends: the boys die or Homelander dies, or both. But someone has to go. They cannot continue to coexist like this.
So I think Homelander's gonna go. It's just a matter of who's gonna do it and how. I think the who is gonna do Ryan.
And that's what they've been kind of like hinting at, right? Is that like Ryan could be the only one who could go toe to toe with him.
Especially
What?
as Homelander is starting to age.
Mm-hmm. They made a point to let us know that he does age.
And he, what's it called, Sage brought it up. She was like, you know, they're using more blind eye on you than they used to. Those red hairs, I think they maybe are, your stylist Hollywood or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that is something, and I wonder if in Homelander's here's a twist. I wonder in Homelander's quest to detach completely from his humanity, and this is satire, if he just ends up killing Ryan. If Ryan
Good.
raises a hand to him.
He definitely could. I don't
Definitely
think
could.
anything will have Homelander.
Like if that happens, I wouldn't be like, oh my god. I'd be like,
Look,
you know what? Of
saw
course.
him kill an innocent kid on a plane. Episode one.
Yeah. He gives no fucks,
Season one,
guys.
episode one. I'm not.
Doesn't
He's not
care.
above stuff
Anything.
like this.
Yeah. Even his own son. Especially if he feels like he's lost his son. Like if he
Yeah.
feels like there is no bringing him back,
If he's like, oh, he's really down with butchering them. Oh,
then
okay, he's
fuck
back.
him. Yeah. Right.
He's back.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see. I really I do love it. We've only been like 4 episodes in, but I gotta commend the writers for like being able to fit all these other little smaller storylines without it feeling like packed or like jumbled or like kind of like off-putting. Like they got
Yeah.
Frenchie's little storyline. Like another thing, guys, there are no good guys in this show. Everyone in this show is fucked up because like Frenchie, for him to have known what he did to that guy's family and then proceed to sleep with him multiple times, I'm just like, Frenchie, what are you doing, guy? What are you doing? And then he's like going on missions high. And I'm just like, you're gonna get yourself killed, guy. Kimiko can heal from just about anything. You
You
can't.
can.
You better be fucking careful, kid. You better be careful. So I don't know. What do you think about like of all the other like little mini storylines, Kimiko, Frenchie, Huey, and his dad, who also has Compound V now, by the way. Like what are you like most interested to see like play out through the rest of the season?
Um, obviously, I want to see what happens with Butcher and how he goes out because we know he's on borrowed time at the
Yeah.
moment. I'm really interested to see what happens with Huey's dad now because that was fucking stupid giving him Compound V. I wouldn't have recommended it. Who else? I want to see. I'm really interested in like Sage's storyline. Um, Frenchie's, I feel like he'll figure himself out
Yeah.
because he always gets high. Like
Yeah. It'll be all right.
Mother's Milk will be all right. I'm real interested now in what Annie's going to do because I'm sure her reputation is screwed. Um, so I mean, there's a lot. I would say the one I'm most focused on is probably Butchers. I'm really interested to see what happens with him, the flashbacks with his wife, and then like his
Mhm.
relationship with Ryan and the extent he's willing to go to, I guess, try to make things right with himself and what how he wanted his wife to view him before he goes.
Yeah.
Interested in how he pursues that and figuring out what that was when he backs out and wakes up and then everybody's dead.
Yeah, you know the
Oh,
the
shit.
the the Butcher thing is interesting because like we've seen before Butcher was kind of given this diagnosis of like, hey dude, you're dying. We've seen Butcher like basically be above nothing,
Yeah,
right? And now I feel like because he is like at death's door, he's almost gaining a little bit more humanity in the way that he goes about things. Like he's like, yeah, he still lies to the group, but sometimes he's like being honest just for being honest sake, and that's not a butcher thing. So
Yeah,
it's and I understand like you're staring death in the face, it can make people do weird different shit, right? So I am very interested to see how Butcher goes out because like the Butcher that we know and love, he's gonna be on demon time even extra if he's like staring at if he's like knocking on death's door. Like I feel like we're all expecting like this like kind of like grandiose exit from Butcher. And I wonder again, a very satirical show, if they're gonna turn that on its head and make his death like completely like anticlimax.
I mean,
Just
it
to
very
fuck
well
with us.
could. Part of me feels like he'll die in a huge explosion, calling Homelander a cunt. Part of me feels like
Right? Yeah.
you know what I mean. He'll die like in the toilet or something. They'll just throw us for a loop, and it's like, oh, what the fuck? So it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
you never know with the boys. But
Yeah.
that's really part of what I love about the show. It's like it is just so like balls to the walls, like that shit crazy.
And
Like
anything can happen.
anything like
Anything can happen. Like nothing's off limits. Like there is nothing that you can pitch in a writing room, I feel like, where there would be like, nah, you're doing too much.
yeah. I feel like they have that. I mean, you there are episodes in this show like rewatching the first season, and the dude shrinks to like this big and then dives inside the girl. Like,
Who thinks of this shit, man? Who thinks of this shit to write?
right? Or how they dealt with translucent,
Right.
right? Like,
Yeah, they just uh, this show is so wild. Like like you said, that's the beauty of this show. Like I have no idea where the second half of this season or season 5 is gonna go. But man, I'm just so happy to be on this ride, even if it grosses me the fuck out along the way. I feel like every time we watch an episode, my wife looks at me and she's like, "Why the fuck are we watching this show? Why are we
one
doing this to ourselves?"
one thing I will say, um, I think we are seeing like a rapidly increasing descent into madness, into further madness with Homelander.
Yes,
And
like exponential.
yeah, part of what he did was like you said, I feel like he still had a little bit of humanity in there, in a very minuscule, like almost negligible amount, but he had a little bit in there. And he wants to wipe that, he wants to get rid of that.
Yeah.
That's why he went and killed all them scientists.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, he's still, more so because he was upset. The kid in him is like, just like, the clown kid in him is upset that everything happened. But really so that he didn't have to if he felt like, I feel like if he felt like if he could destroy it, he wouldn't have to think about it no more.
I think he's also like to your point. He's trying to destroy this need of wanting to be accepted and wanting to be loved. Like he's trying to prove to himself that like I'm above these people. They're insects to me. And so if he can, you know, detach himself from the rest of those scientists who like that was his childhood, as awful as it was, right? Then there's nothing that he can't bring himself to do,
Yeah,
which I think and I hope will be his detriment in the end. Is that maybe he'll need an ally and he creates an enemy that outmaneuvers him in some way. I don't know how, but we'll see. I mean, there's also the prospect of like that virus, right? That if you guys haven't seen Gen V, you should definitely go back and watch that. Um, but how that kind of connects to this whole story and how like Newman has her hands on the virus, or at least we think she still does, and how that's going to come back into play because that's definitely not something that they're gonna leave alone. I feel like we got a taste of it earlier this season, and then they kind of like we haven't we haven't seen it or heard anyone discuss it since. But I feel like it's definitely got to be part of like Butcher's Endgame.
I hope so. They gotta do something to kill Homelander.
He's gotta go, man. He's gotta go. He's gotta go. He has to go. Like there's no, I don't think there's another villain where I'm like, he absolutely has to go. There are no other options here.
And like, if we're being realistic, right? Like, in the grand scheme of things, Homelander, if I drop him in another superhero universe, he's not a huge problem.
Yeah, and I've seen that debate online a lot of like, oh, who would win, Superman, Omni Man, or Homelander? Let me tell you, Homelander's getting smoked first.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
he's getting smoked first, and then Superman, Omni Man will have their debate, definitely. But he's getting smoked. He's got no training. He's got no formal fighting. He's just the only Superman-like person in his world at this point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we saw like, the like no one's even relatively close to him in this universe, except for like Soldier Boy and Powered Up Butcher. And we saw how like they almost got him out of here last
Yeah,
season.
like, and I think about this too. Like, he couldn't, he couldn't, he couldn't catch that plane
Right.
that crashed, right?
Mm-hmm. He was saying it was I'll just end up flying right through it. Like it's not there's nothing I can do.
So you don't have that kind of dexterity or control over your powers because Superman would have just caught the bitch.
Right. He'd have just
He
caught it.
wouldn't have
Yeah, and
told
just
to it.
like
His hands would have been soft, and he just would have stopped that bitch from moving.
yeah. And let it gently on the ground.
Yeah.
Like I got you guys. I got you. I got you. No worries. We're good. We're good.
No, but Dennis Menace over here, oh, just running through the whole thing because he got no self control.
Well, I also think the lack of self control comes from not giving a shit either, right?
Yeah,
Like if he as strong as he is, if he practiced, if he took time to like hone some of that strength, some of that godly power, maybe, but he doesn't need to. Like he doesn't live in a world
yeah,
where that's necessary for him to give a shit.
yeah.
So that's what we've got.
So
That's what
yeah,
we've
we got
got.
10 years past one.
It's all bad. Anyways, guys, thanks for hanging out with us for as long as you have. I'm really excited about the rest of this season. We're at the halfway point here. I definitely think Sage has got something up her sleeve. But regardless, Homelander's got to fucking go. I doubt they're gonna.
Too.
There, there's no way they're gonna like get rid of him at the end of this. Like he's gonna make it all the way to the end. Definitely. I don't know if everyone will be there to see Homelander eat it, but boy, it's gonna be fun. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment below. Carter, you got any final thoughts?
I mean, like, subscribe, keep watching the show because we will definitely be back at the end of this season.
Yes, 100%, 100%. Well, guys, it's been a pleasure, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Peace.